Hello, everybody. I'm Joe Wilkinson, and I'm the Self Architect, and I help driven individuals create a life of ever present peace, love, joy, alignment, and fulfillment. Now, we do this by working through a process that I've cultivated and founded called Self Architecture, and it's based off these three main pillars: inner mastery and emotional freedom, deep self connection and liberation, and aligned and compassionate living. So, Self Architecture was actually built and cultivated through my own struggles. And after doing 8 years of relentless self-development, of listening to every podcast and reading every book and doing various different types of self-development and therapeutic methods, and even things like running ultra marathons and doing bodybuilding competitions and pushing my body to extremes to become the best version of myself, self-architecture is an amalgamation of all the lessons that I've learned along the way and how we can get to a place of peace, love, joy, alignment, and fulfillment as efficiently as we possibly can. Because at the end of the day, life is a game of feeling, and self-architecture is allowing people to feel, to get better at feeling, to grow to a point where they can live in a place of peace, love, joy, alignment, and fulfillment. They can have harmonious relationships, and they can truly live with depth and clarity and sovereignty, and they can build a life that they truly desire. So this is for people who are life enthusiasts. They're driven, they want more out of life, and they want to multiply as an individual, but they find that the suffering that they face in their life, which could come from various different forms, is the thing that's holding them back. And that can be anything from low self-worth and confidence, negative self-image, numbness to feeling, lack of purpose, chronic low energy, cannot access and remain in the present, poor relationships, emotional dysregulation, lack of self-trust, control, respect, or awareness, lack of self-understanding, fear of failure, control issues, reactivity. We can really go from pillar to post, but the suffering is the thing that holds people back, and that's where people get stuck. We have pain in life, but then we choose to suffer. And self-architecture is going in and it's building life from the inside out. And the process itself is an amalgamation of various different practices from all around the world. We've got psychology, physiology, we've got Western practices, Eastern practices, nervous system regulation. We work with the body, but we also work with the mind. It is at the very epicenter of working with all of these things together is where we find the recipe for success. As I said before, I've done various different therapeutic methods and I've worked through various different self-development methods too. And a lot of them focus on one modality. It's just working with the mind, or it's just working with the body, or it's just working with Eastern practice or Western practices, or just physiology. But when we bring everything together and we see ourselves and life and this process as a whole, that is really when we can capture the most amount of progress possible. And it allows us to make progress far quicker than any other method there is out there. And this is why it's so bespoke to you as an individual, because we find the recipe for success that works with you and we apply that consistently. And a lot of the time, it's actually building life from within. It's going inwards and realizing what stories and narratives and beliefs do I hold about myself, the world, and other people that are holding me back. And how can I create that felt sense of peace, love, joy, alignment, and fulfillment in my life consistently in who I am as an individual? And how can that impact everything as a ripple effect outside of me? Now, the process is actually run by something called individuation, which is a psychological process of integrating the conscious and the unconscious mind to become a unique, whole individual, distinct from the collective psychology of others. It involves self-realization, developing one true personality, and separating from personas. Now, individuation is a lifelong process, but it's something that we can speed up so we can learn who we truly are at the very core. We can understand who we are. We can learn our patterns. We can get to a point where we can be so understanding of who we are as an individual that we can then venture forward and apply those lessons to essentially grow out of the patterns that hold us back, to change the beliefs, the subconscious beliefs and stories and narratives, the subconscious fears that influence the way in which we see the world, the way in which we relate to other people, the way in which we grow, the situations that we put ourselves in, the situations that we avoid. Whatever it is, it's all influenced by our subconscious mind. And until we go inwards and learn about it and understand it and uncover the patterns and the fears and the beliefs, the narratives and the stories that we hold in there based off past experience, we essentially stay stuck. So self-architecture is a process of, I guess, addition through subtraction. It's making our life better by taking away. And it's actually taking away the stories, it's taking away the fears and the past hurt and the things that we relate back to consistently that we're not even consciously aware of, that literally shape every moment of every day of who we relate to, why we relate to them, what we do, what we don't do, what we like, what we don't like, the confidence we have, the self-worth that we have. It all comes from within. And as soon as we go inwards and we start to detach from those stories, we build a very strong relationship with self. We let go of fears and past hurt, and we go inwards and meet our own needs, both physically and mentally. That is when we start to make the most amount of progress and become a whole individual who is integrated, who has sovereignty, and who can build a life that they truly desire, which is adventurous and which is fun and enjoyable. And that's what this process is all about. As much as, yes, it is serious and we work together on some very deep work, and at times, obviously, we have to, really go inwards and really give the space and the time and the love that it needs, but it's also something which is enjoyable. It's about growth. It's exciting. It's about how can we build a life that is truly aligned to us as an individual, and how can we multiply and expand as an individual too. That's what this process is all about. And it's ran through one-to-one weekly breakthrough sessions that we have with myself. So these are in-depth one-to-one weekly breakthrough sessions. We have practical tasks set outside of session to go away with, things like journaling, things like writing essays, etc., to really understand who we are as an individual to go inwards. There's 24/7 WhatsApp support. So this is an ongoing process. And just through my past experience with things like therapy, it's really important to have support outside of session for when you do need it, because sometimes it's just the tap back in line and the reassurance and the validation sometimes that really allows you to grow as an individual. Because essentially this process is somewhat like a reparenting process with parts of ourselves that are still stuck and that are still suffering. So having that WhatsApp support and having me on your shoulder there basically at every point in time can be really valuable. We have a tailored map of self, an interactive board via Miro, which is amazing because we start to map you as an individual. We put infographics in there, we make notes in there, we can make notes about your triggers and who you are as an individual and how we are actually starting to grow. And that really gives you an immense amount of knowledge about yourself, so then you can build self-trust, control, respect, awareness, love, and essentially get to a place where you can understand yourself enough so then you can start to build upwards from there. There is a Life by Design education library with 20 plus videos, varying all the way from things like the map of ourself to limiting beliefs to going inwards and external regulators and detachment and self-love and managing the self. There is various different topics that cover from pillar to post, really, that really help us grow as an individual and understand who we are. And then a community of like-minded individuals, because I think it's really important to meet like-minded individuals who want to grow, who are alike to you. Now, we work by a process. Self-architecture is flexible, it's fluid, because everybody has their own unique individual experience. So the cores are flexible and fluid, but we've got to have some form of structure and framework for us to work by to have consistent progress and to ensure that we're tracking progress and moving forward, because, we want to make sure that we're actually getting something out of this. And this is what this is. So we start with an initial assessment, and this is a macro and micro cyclical process. This happens on the weekly basis, but also on the monthly basis and even on the yearly basis. And sometimes even just on a conversation basis too as well. We move through internal and external mapping, so who you are, so conscious and subconscious roadblocks. We go through a process of vision planning, future pacing, lifestyle interventions. Then we get to pattern recognition and root problems, so the beliefs, the stories, and the narratives that hold you back, unmet needs, expectations. Where do they lie? I'm here to uncover that. I'm here to show you your blind spots from where you're not free. We then go inwards, internal rewiring, habit change, top down and bottom up, so working with the mind, but also working with the body to get that recipe for success. And then we go in and we actually realign with the new sense of self and nervous system regulation. What does that look like for you? How do we align our life with this new sense of self, with this new story that you relate to? So changing your story for your life. And then that's what leads to liberation. That's what allows us to feel safety, love, presence, ease, clarity, self-worth, abundance, expansion consistently by liberating ourselves from the suffering that we face. And the suffering that we face is only a matter of perspective. And as soon as we see it as that, we can go inwards and we can change it. And that really allows us to access freedom and liberation, which then allows us to reflect, revisit, and then go back through this process again. And that's how we continue to expand as an individual. And this is what it's all about. It's about getting to a place where you can access true depth and presence in the moment. true clarity, prosperity, love. You can have harmonious relationships, thriving health and wellness. We're not stuck in a place where we've got this constant state of dis-ease, anxiety and worry and shame and guilt. And we're stuck with anger and all of these emotions that we essentially are stuck at and suffering with, that we can't move past. That's what self-architecture it's all about. It's about going inwards. It's about designing ourselves to be a person who can live in a place of love and courage and willingness and joy, and essentially get to a point where they can love themselves at the very core and have true self-love, respect, esteem and control. And that leads to peace and prosperity, work-life balance, presence. It gives you everything because you are at the epicenter. You are at the very core. And yes, of course, this is a process where we work together, and it's something that we're going to be working hard on, but it's also something that is so exciting, so adventurous, and so enjoyable, because it means that you can build a life that you truly desire. And that's what these 8 individuals have done. They've been through the process. These are people who are life enthusiasts. They want more of life. They want depth of the moment. They want clarity. And so far, with working with these individuals, we have been able to achieve that. And it's just some evidence of the process of what we've been able to do so far. So if you are looking to have some further information, please feel free to send me an email over on joe@theselfarchitect.co.uk, or head to my website, theselfarchitect.co.uk, or my Instagram at Joe D. Wilkinson, and please drop me a message and I'd be happy to hear from you.